Good day, everybody. Today's podcast is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be my presentation I did at Activate 2024, and my presentation was on the tools I use to help my clients succeed. And I wanted to share it with you because I feel like there's a lot of information that will help many of you start to put better programming for yourself. And if you have any comments or any feedback, leave it on the comments section, and I'd be happy to get back to you. Hope you enjoy it and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about we agree that if anybody who's late, what do you think, 20 push-ups, 30 push-ups, 10 push-ups? You know, I come from a culture of playing rugby for 20 years, so we always had a little bit of hazing if people were late, or we used to have kangaroo court after tournaments or stuff like that, so there'd be some type of that person was late, you'd have to do 30 push-ups or something of that sort. So maybe we can have some fun, or we can all talk in silence and pretend like they're crazy and that they can't hear us. We could do something fun like that, but no. Today, guys, I'm excited to be here. If you don't know Activate, I think this is their 10th year of doing this conference. And Connie and me go back about 12 years where we met. And when I first started doing some clinical practice, that's when I graduated from school in nutrition. And she asked me when she told me about this, I'm like, that's amazing. And when she told me that it was the 10-year anniversary, I said, I'm going to come back. I'll do a presentation because I've been there for the first 3 years when I used to be at like 3 different locations. So I'm excited to be here. It's been a while since I've done a presentation at Activate, and I think it's been a 7-year hiatus since I have been here. And I'm excited because I've got a lot more information to share. And I think that, yeah, come on in. I think there's some people at the door. Come on in. Yeah. So we just all made a deal here. If you were the last persons to walk in, 20 push-ups at the end. No, we're just joking. Okay, exactly, right? So I've been doing this. So I want to share with you a lot more of what my clinical experience is, because I feel like there's so much misconceptions and so many things that we talk about on social media. And what I always am intrigued by is what is actually the client's journey. Who is in front of me? What is going on? And I want to share that experience with you. So, a lot of the things I'm going to talk about are tools that I've used. And then at the end, I have 12 things that I've learned from working with over 5,000 people and being in business for myself in a nutritional clinic for 9 years. This is a special year for me. I've been in business or in the health and industry for the past 20. This is my 20th year in this industry. So I want to make sure that I share with you everything that I've learned, because we all need to share our knowledge, our experiences, our mistakes, our successes. And I think that we can learn a lot from each other, and I want to share that with you, okay? I am a person who will talk loud. If I walk a lot, I apologize. I talk with my hands. So if you feel dizzy, let me know and I can kind of tone it down. But it's probably going to be very hard. My media guy, Frank, is here. My daughter is here. And, he asked me, he's like, can you stand still in one spot? I said, good luck, so we'll have some fun. But, before I get started, I always like to talk about where I started, okay? And where I started was I owned a health food store in Smith Falls, Ontario called New Global Vitamins. And I worked there for about 2 to 3 years before I met my mentor, Charles Paulson. And when I met Charles, it was game changer for me. I remember being at the Ottawa Athletic Club, doing a workout, and I remember I was doing glute ham raises, and I looked over and I said, holy shoot, that's Charles Paulson. So I walked over to my strength coach at the time, and I said, Eric, is that CP? And he goes, yeah, that's Charles. And I was like, oh. And obviously, if you've ever met him, you would never say a word to him during his workouts because he looks like he's going to kill you. And but so anyways, I ended up meeting him, talking to him. He needs some supplements. He got stuck in Ottawa for 6 months, and I got to know him. And we started talking. And he said to me, Harry, you really know what you're doing when it comes to supplements. You should go back to school and do something with this. And that's what sparked me. And so I went to school, became a holistic nutritionist. And while I was going through holistic nutrition and I was finishing up my diploma, I had my daughter, Priya. And when we hurt her, she had really bad skin. Really bad skin. So if all of you are parents here, you probably have seen some kids with mitts on, and they would scratch themselves till they bleed and they look like fire victims. And so we went through a whole bunch of different types of practitioners, doctors, medical system, and nothing was giving with her skin. Then we went to a naturopath, we did a food sensitivity test, and we found out eggs, gluten, and soya protein were detrimental to her health. So here I am in school for nutrition, kind of gone through the body. I was playing rugby competitively at that time. And I said, there's no way. There's no way. These are the healthiest foods in the world. Eggs, to date, I still say, are the healthiest foods for each individual. And so we eliminated it, and probably within 3 days, everything started to get better. And I was like, holy cow. So at that point, I owned a health food store, and I just started doing some nutritional consulting. And it was 2014 at that point that I made the decision to actually shut down my store and go full-time into nutritional consulting. And I said to my wife, I'm going to change the game. And I said, I'm going to change it because everybody's making generic programming. I don't know if you guys remember, but it used to be like quarter cup oatmeal, 2 egg white omelet, tuna and celery. That was the way we used to program for people. And so I said, no, we got to make it so it's personalized, because each individual is going to have a different response to the way they respond to food, training, people, individuals, sleep, right? Everybody has their own bio-individual imprint. And so that's how we came up with Personalized Health Center, and that's why that logo has that thumbprint in it, okay? Now fast forward 2014, helping people work and find the way their body's supposed to work. I've had now the opportunity to work with great organizations like the Red Blacks, the 67s, the Ravens, the Pants Off Cam. We've done work with Edmonton Eskimos. I've worked with over 5,000 people, everybody ranging from, in my office this week, there was someone who has cancer, from someone who is looking to put on 20 pounds as a hockey player, to the mom who's looking to lose 20 pounds, to my other client who's diagnosed with IBD. So it's everybody. I didn't really advertise too much. All I did is make the client-centric programming, and I said, you are the person in front of me. I don't care about anything about paper, diets, research. Let me do research on you, because you are my N of 1. And 5,000 people later, I've been able to learn so much from people. And that's where I feel like we've lost the touch, right? Everybody's telling me about theories and diets and Instagram and look what changed me. We all know as individuals, everything works. But the problem is, it may not work for everybody. So the person in front of us is who we got to look at. And so for me, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share with you all of the tools that I've used with clients to make them successful. And I'm old. I may not look old, but I'm 44. Okay? Yeah. Listen, for me, I'm 44. That's an age, it's a jump. Okay? All right? But what I'll say to you is I started in it. No, but and the reason why I say that is because the one thing we can learn from, even I love sitting with older trainers, and my strength and conditioning coach, it's sad, but me and him are presenting at the same time right now. Andre's my coach. Charles Polquin's number 2 is my coach to date. And the reason is that I don't have tech. I didn't have a lot of tech. I didn't have blood works available. I had to learn the client. And I want to share with you all of those tools that I use even to this date. To date, I still use the things that I was using 10 to 15 years ago to find out more about the client. Okay? And I'm going to go through all of those tools, how I use them, why we use them, and what they can do to your practice so that you can help get the client better results. Everybody here works in the industry, correct? Okay, perfect. How many are strength and conditioning coaches? How many actually are nutrition? A little bit of everybody? Okay, good. All right, well, let's start to go through this. So these are tools that I use, okay? So the first thing I use is a questionnaire. Before I even meet with a client and I'm talking to them on the phone, they always say, well, what are your thoughts on this and what are your thoughts on that? I say, listen, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. I'm very open on the phone. I say, I'm not quite sure what we're going to do. I have a kind of a template of what I like to follow, but the first thing I need to do is I need to learn more about you, and I need to sit with you for 2 hours, and I need to find out what you're doing. So the first step starts with a 17-page to 25-page questionnaire, okay? What's their goals? What's their past history? What's their medical history? What does their digestive system look like? What does their sleep look like? What's their level of stress? What is your goals? What are injuries? What are surgeries? I want to know everything about you, okay? So in our office, the first hour, I call that the connection phase. I need to learn, what is your goals? What is my timeline? What is your past experience? Where's your body starting point? Where are you today? Okay? And then what is your level of acceptance? I need to start reading cues off you. So for you trainers, it'd be no different than someone walking in and saying, hey, can you touch your toes? No? Okay, so we have to worry about that first. okay? So the first step is understanding where the body's function is, okay? Where do they need to start? Because a lot of clients will come in and say to me, they'll be so confused, like, oh, well, I need to start weighing my food, I need to do this, and I need to cut out carbs. I'm like, whoa. Okay, hold on a second here. So I'll give you an example. A client comes in, and for breakfast, they were eating a Tim Hortons sandwich, right, with a donut, and a double-double. For lunch, they were having a slice of pizza, and for dinner, they had, I think it was, what was it, A&W root beer with French fries, onion rings, and a bag of chips. And she's talking to me about cutting out carbs and weighing her food and thinking about all these things. I'm like, okay, I don't know. So the first step is, can we find out what is our starting point for the client? That's going to be the first hour, okay? And what we've done is we've set up a foundation. So we have sections, we have departments of the business that we say, of the body that we say, okay, we have to figure out where are these starting points of the body. So eat right, move right, poop right, sleep right, love right, drink right, talk right. So we first figure out what's their starting point for their eating. What are they actually eating? What are they doing, right? Number 2 is poop right. What does their digestive system look like? Are they pooping every day, right? Do they have gas? Do they have bloating, right? Sleep right. What does their sleep look like? Do they sleep more than 4 hours? Do they sleep 5 hours? Do they sleep interrupted? Do they get hot flashes? Do they wake up to go pee? Are they a shift worker? Are they not a shift worker? Is it because their environment? What's going on? I have clients say, hey, I sleep great, but because my partner wakes up every 2 to 3 hours, I'm up. Okay, I need to know your sleep hygiene. Drink right. How much water do they drink? What do they drink? Do they drink Coca-Cola? Do they drink Diet Coke? Do they drink Meow? Do they drink Bubble? What is it that they're drinking? How much alcohol do they drink? Okay? So, and then when we look at love right means, do they love themselves? Like what is their mentality towards things, right? Some people say, I'm fat, I'm crap, I'm garbage, I want to understand how they talk about themselves, right? Then we start to look into move right. How much movement are they doing? Are they walking? Are they sedentary? Are they sitting at a desk for 16 hours? What are they doing? And the last one is talk right. What's their language like, right? Is it just diet culture? Is it negative? Is it positive? And so these are the things that in the first 60 minutes to 2 hours, I'm starting to address and making notes, okay? Because I got to learn the function of the client. So for me, the first thing I do before I even talk to people or make up a program is I go through this with them for an hour. So they've got to fill it out an hour before they meet with me. Okay, so I tell them, this should not take you longer than a cup of coffee. If it does, you're overthinking it, okay? So making sure that you have some type of background assessment form is there. If anybody wants a copy of this, email me, I'll send it over to you. Or you just go on our website, I send you the link, fill it out, I'll save the PDF and email it back to you so you have all the questions. But it's just a good idea for you to be able to start to understand where the client is coming from. So for our staff, whenever they start with me and they're done their 3-month probation, I go, now I need you to fill this out. Because you need to go through the client experience, okay? So just having some type of questionnaire baseline to start from is very important. And here's the kicker. The amount of people that fill it out and say, I didn't even know the answer. I have clients come and say, I don't know if I poop every day. I don't know how I sleep. I don't know, right? And then I'll interview them and I'll sit with them and the answers will be different from what they actually type to what they're telling me in person. Because now we have to eliminate the ego. Right? So as I always tell people, in the first hour, there's no ego, there's no emotion, just tell me where your starting point is because there is no right or wrong answer. Huge. There is no right or wrong answer. Where have you been for the past 6 months? Let's just start there. Okay? So first step is get to know the client on piece of paper. And what's funny is when you start to meet with them, then you have an idea. So if I'm meeting with somebody and I'm like, my spidey sense is going off saying everything they've written down is the opposite of what they're telling me. So now I know I need to ask them, keep asking them more questions, and then I have a trust issue. So I got to figure out, okay, is this person going to tell me the truth all the time or not? Right? I'm automatically starting to interview the client. Kind of like when you guys see a client walk through the door, you see them walking like this, you're like, oh yeah, right? They're limping or they're doing something. You can see cues right away. Okay? So first step, get a questionnaire. Number 2, we do a body composition assessment. Okay? I'm still a massive fan of body fat testing. Caliper testing, in-body testing, DEXA testing, inches, pictures, pant size, everything. We track everything, every metric, including weight, right? When I first started in this industry 15, 20 years ago, we talked a little bit about weight, but we talked about recomposition phase, which if you listen to a lot of podcasts, what are they saying a lot now? recomposition phases. They're not looking at weight scale. I would say the weight scale became back in trend because of the fact that everybody wants to be an online coach. And so now we don't have access to body fat testing. So everybody's just saying, oh, wait. But then on the other side, they're saying weight doesn't matter. So it's a big confusion, okay? So the reason why I like body composition assessments, number one is you have to understand the client. Majority of clients will come in and say to me, if I email them saying, hey, how's everything going with the program? What's going on? Do you feel leaner? No change. I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. I had a client call me and say, you know what, this program isn't working for me. I'm not seeing any results. So I said, okay, why don't we move your appointment up 2 weeks? Moved her appointment 2 weeks, she was down 12 pounds. Oh, I thought I'd be down 20.
Oh my God.
No, but this is the interesting part, right? We have to put ourselves in the client's seat. So by us collecting all this data, we can now re-educate the client about their body. Right? And that's the most important part, re-education of their body, because all they've ever learned from is social media, doctors, and simple things. We've got to re-teach them, okay? So caliper testing, in-body testing, pictures, pant size, inches, very good tools. I actually like body fat testing, pictures, and pant size a lot, okay? I had a client this year, she's like, Harry, I'm not tracking. She came and saw me the first day we did her body fat, and she said, I'm not gonna track anything else for the next year. I'm just going to not track my body fat, not check my weight, not doing that. I'm just gonna do the program. I said, okay, let's try this. So I usually meet with clients once a month. We kept talking, making program changes. She started at 16 pant. She finished at a size 8 pant in 1 year. And then when I did do her body fat, she lost 55 pounds and her weight. Because she didn't get hung up on anything. She was like, I'm just gonna do it, okay? Now, some clients are data driven. Some clients are not. So really get to know your client. But why I like this is because you start to give the client options of showing body composition. So in our office, if we look at what is a plateau, remember a weight loss plateau, weight loss in my definition is anything more than 0.25 pounds per week. If you lose more than 0.25 pounds per week, you are losing weight. Now, another one is, do your pants feel looser? So you may not be losing weight, but your pants feel looser. And then number 3 is your performance still increasing? Okay, if all 3 of those stop, then I say time to make a change, okay? So minimum effective change. So we need to understand that these tracking tools help us re-educate the client, because they'll say, oh, I haven't lost any weight, but all my pants are feeling looser. Then you look at their pictures and you're like, holy smokes. You look like, and then you say to them, how much do you think you lost? Looks like I lost 20 pounds. Well, Harry, how come it's okay? The goal is the body composition is changing. The other reason to why body composition is more important than weight, in my opinion, is because body composition actually is a telltale sign of lifestyle. How many people here have said to you, I eat really healthy, and you look at them and you're like, I don't mean to be rude, but you're 30% body fat bare minimum. Like there's some kind of disconnect there, okay? So from taking biosignature with Charles, you start to realize that lifestyle, food choices, hormones affect the way your body actually changes your body composition. So I'll have clients saying, Harry, I lost 20 pounds, but I feel like garbage. But their body fat went up, but their weight went down. So what does that tell us? Lifestyle choices affect the way the body's going to function. So the first step we have to identify is what are lifestyle factors that will help body composition, right? We know workouts, we know walking, we know sleeping better. So every time you start to look at someone's body fat, that's going to be a better predictor of health long-term than your weight. Okay, now we know muscle mass is a better predictor of longevity, strength. We also know that having less body fat is a better predictor of having less chance of type 2 diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, especially around the girth area, and less cancer types, estrogen type cancer issues. It's also linked to better energy, better immune function, less inflammatory response. And remember, weight doesn't look bad in the mirror. Body fat does, right? So you guys are sitting there training them, putting on muscle, and they're getting mad because they're saying, hey, I'm not losing any weight, what's going on? But their pants are feeling looser. So taking that initial picture of that initial in-body gives them that education. And we gotta make sure we track their muscle mass now. Every podcast you listen to tracks muscle. So body fat, good place to start, okay? So this is why we are big fans of doing some type of tracking system with the client, even if the client doesn't want to. So I've had clients come to me and say, you know, I don't want to do the body fat, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. And I always say, okay, no problem, but we're gonna do it. And they say, well, what kind of person are you? But I said, listen, no. I said, I'm doing it for you because the first 100 people that I ever work with, I let 10 people do that. And you know what's the first thing they all said to me 3 months later? I wish we took that first picture. I wished we took that first picture. So I said, what I'm not going to do is deny you that feeling after 90 days. Even to date, when you come and see me and I do your follow-ups with me, so when I see my clients once a month, I'll always do their last picture they saw me, and I'll do their first. So I have clients been with me for 3 years, 4 years, and they're like, oh my God, do you really have to bring up that first picture? I said, yes, because I'm never going to let you forget the journey you've been through to get to where you are today. Okay? So remember that. A lot of people use this as negative. They're like, oh, Listen, we have to collect data to re-educate the client, and everybody's running away from data and all using emotional, right? Sometimes we just got to stop looking at all the emotional data and start looking at what's the real data to get us into the conscious world to actually make change, okay? So body composition assessment, I'm really a big fan of. I think that everybody should start there because it's a good place to start, okay? Oh, by the way, if anybody has any questions about any of the slides that I'm talking about, please feel free to ask me about that slide. I'll answer it there. And then at the end, I usually am done about 15 minutes. Parking lot session, anything goes. Is there a break after me, or are we going to get kicked out? We're good. Okay, I can talk all day. So, anybody have questions after, we can talk about anything. But if you do have a question about what we're doing right now, just ask away. Okay?
Well, it just kind of goes with what you said about taking out the emotional aspect. I was like, yeah, I want to start, I want to do an invoice. I'm like, okay, perfect, send her all the prep stuff, whatever. And she comes, she does it, scan comes out, and she's like, looks at the body fat page. Oh, that can't be right.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, and then she's like, oh, I didn't think things were that bad. And I was like, well, it's not that bad. It's a starting point. You got to start somewhere. You said today you were coming in to start, so this is your start. But then she was like losing her mind about the body fat. And I was like, well, I said, here's the thing. I said, social media and everything is telling you, it's okay to feel good, love yourself at all sizes, and that's great, and there's nothing wrong with that. But your insides aren't healthy. I'm going to tell you a secret about my little machine. It doesn't give a shit about your feelings.
Yeah, 100%.
It says it's going to pop out the data, whether you like it or not, it doesn't care. And she was kind of like, oh, and another client heard me say it, and they're like, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it's going to be it's fine, but the machine doesn't care.
And I think the key is what you said, is that it's consciousness from emotion, right? It's like, hey, I'm okay, I'm healthy, but now you're actually walking into a professional's office. Your standards are here, our standards are up here. And that happens in every industry, right? When I'm sitting with my strength and conditioning coach, his standards is up here. I do BJJ, his standards are here, my standards are here, right? Car industry, TV, it doesn't matter, right? So I think that there is a little bit of an awakening that comes in to when you start to actually go into a professional office. And I tell people that, just remember that your standards to what you thought was normal is not going to be my standards. Your standards of health are not my standards of health. And I said, that's why we're here today, right? And yes, most people don't like, and I always say, that's okay, this is just your starting point body fat. The good thing is now you know it's going to be better the next time we see you. So let's just start, let's move on. That's why I do it last. I don't do the body fat before I finish all my talking. I do it last, because then I can get through all of my conversation, because if not, they dwell on it. Okay, so yes. Yeah, there's somebody just outside there. So yeah. Okay. Zoom, yes, please.
If you could repeat the question, just because
Yeah. Oh, sorry. So the question was, she had a client come in and do her in-body and was upset with the results. And so, your name is?
Rebecca.
Rebecca was telling us the story about how she had to re-educate the client about the emotional part of what you think is healthy may not be the real part when you actually start to collect the data, right? And I think that's what we were just talking about is, how do we separate emotional knowledge to actually what is actually real knowledge, okay? So, right, yeah, that's good. And if anybody has Zoom questions, tell them to just ask away as we go along, okay? Number 3 is analogies, languages, and definitions. Okay, every coach needs to have 5 to 10 analogies. End of story. If you don't have 5 to 10 analogies, you're gonna have a hard time making sure that client understands what you're talking about. My major analogy in my office is your body is a business, and the reason why I look at your body like a business is because if you looked at your body like a business, 50% of the food decisions you would make would be gone. You would never make them based on convenience, and based on what just works and what my emotions are. You would never do that. You would look at it based on the highest return on investment for change. Fair? So I have that analogy for anything. Do you want to make $100 an hour or do you want to make $30 an hour? Which one do you choose? Right? If you were going out to a restaurant and you own the restaurant and someone complained, and you could make $0 to $100, would you rather give them $0 and give it all off, or would you try to make 50 bucks? You try to make 50 bucks. So when you go out to a restaurant, I need you to just find the $50 to $100 meals because I know it's not, but we can't go to a zero meal. That make sense? So I always say mortgage payment of nutrients. I don't care what you do, but at the end of the day, my mortgage payment of nutrients needs to be paid daily, just like you do for your house. Right? Because people say, when do I get a cheat day? When do I get this? When do I get that? I'm like, you can do whatever you'd like. But your body needs a specific amount of essential nutrients per day. I don't care when you get them, but by the end of the day, you have to have those basics in. And if you want to have stuff after, no problem. If you pay your mortgage and you want to buy a pair of shoes, bank doesn't care. But you're not going to tell the bank, hey, by the way, I can't pay your mortgage, but I bought a pair of shoes. Have strong analogies. I have very bad ones, like disruptively, mentally unhealthy analogies. They share it with their friends. And guess what? They remember them. I won't share them today. Come on. There's some secrets that we have to keep. But the key is have analogies that are impactful, that they'll understand, and that they relate to. So that's why in my intake form, I always ask, what do you do for a living? So if they're a police officer, I talk to them like they'd be talking to someone in their world. If someone's an engineer, I talk more technical. If someone is, a freelance entrepreneur, I talk in their language. So I always try to understand what business are they in, and I say, hey, if you did this, would you do that in your world? Like, never. I'm like, perfect, so why are you doing it to your body? Okay, so have strong analogies. Number 2, language. Okay, so like I'm working with words, things like retention, acceptance, deliberate, right? Weight loss versus fat loss. Right? Have good language. Right? Let's not use the social media. Sometimes I use social media terms. Right? Like people say, oh, I really want to lose weight. I'm like, how about we actually say body composition change? Or how about instead of the reason why you're probably not losing weight is because you have issues with function, not composition. Because that's one of the terms I use. Function before composition. So I have all these little terms and languages that I use. Our goal to help you today is to help you retain, maintain, and our goal today is to help you retain and maintain the information and the results. So I've got these little twists that I use, okay? And they're things that clients will remember, like my eat right, move right, poop right, sleep right, love right, drink right, talk right. My clients love it when I say that. They think it's hilarious, right? And they tell all their friends. They're like, oh, he's got this saying. And so that's what we want. We also have to think about the business, the media side of this, is when they're talking about you at the dinner table with their friends, that's great. That means they're involved, they're engaged, right? Language. I tell clients, whenever you go out with your friends, don't tell them you started a new diet. Tell them that you're working with a nutritionist and you're working on some gut health issues and you're changing around your eating systems and you're trying to figure out some new ways. So this is why I'm eating like this. Are you comfortable with that? No one's going to say a word. You tell someone you're a diet, oh, just love yourself. Fair? So we can change the language and help our clients get through it. So when they're navigating through it, we've got the terms and the sayings for them to go through it. Okay? And this one's the third one, and this is probably one of the biggest things that I've learned in the past 2 years. Definitions. Define everything you talk with a client. Define, define, define. Okay? So, example. One of the examples I commonly see as a mistake. So new clients will come and see me, or trainers will call me and say, Harry, my client's not losing weight. I said, okay, what's wrong? They're using a tracking app and their macros look good, everything looks good. I said, okay. Number 1, what did they put as their activity level? Active. What is their activity level in a day? They take a 30-minute walk, they do 3 30-minute classes per week. Okay, go in the app and change it to sedentary. Anything less than 60 minutes of activity of anything over 30 heartbeats from resting heart rate is up in my office is considered sedentary. Do you think clients like hearing that? Nope. They're like, oh man, I go crush my workout. I'm like, yes. Okay, now let's look at your body like a business. You have a 24-hour clock. For 30 minutes you do exercise. What do you do for the other 23, 30? Well, you sleep for 8. You sit in the car for 2. You sit on the couch for 2 watching TV, then you sit at your desk for 8, perfect, you're sedentary. Okay? Right? But The thing is, but it's a definition. But the client doesn't know that. That's not their fault. That's our fault. We're the professionals. We have to have standards, right? Or people say to me, I eat healthy. Okay, can you please define healthy to me? Well, I'm eating in a calorie deficit. Oh, okay, good. No, but this is good. They're telling you, and now you can help them. So healthy to me means that you're eating a meal that keeps you full for 3 to 4 hours, makes you feel great after, no gas, no bloating, 85% real food, and I feel like I can go and kick ass for 8 hours. Their definition of healthy, I eat in a calorie deficit, but I'm tired and I'm exhausted and I don't poop every day. Right? Or, Harry, I can't lose weight. Well, yeah, because you don't poo. You don't need to lose weight. You're full of shit. No, but it's true. But their definition is, oh, it's going to be my hormones. It's got to be this. It's got to be that. It's got to be this. Right? So making sure that you clearly define things, ask them questions. So can you explain to me how you define activity? How do you define healthy? How do you define protein? Everybody here is going to have a different definition towards food. Okay? So when they say protein, they're thinking peanut butter. Right? No, but it's true. Right? And so they're confused, and it's not their fault. You go on social media and their feed. Remember, their feed is not full of our feed. Our feed is full of like professionals like Gabrielle Lyon and Peter Attia and all these great people. Personalized Health Center. Got to throw that in, eh, Frank? You like that? Okay? But their feed is going after the everyday influencer who may not know the difference, who's just telling them to do that and track their calories or do that. Nothing individual. Okay? And when they come to us, we are the next level. They've committed to saying, hey, I'm done with generic. I want custom. So we give them that. And start with definitions. What's your definition of strong? What's your definition of healthy? What's your definition? Because then we can start to clarify things. When people say healthy, I have probably a 10-point definition in my office. Okay? And where it clicked in for me, I'll tell you where it clicked into me, where that really one kicked in, of where I said, okay, we got to define. It was probably 2014. I was sitting in Smith Falls, Ontario. I sold my health food store. I was just on the verge of selling my building. I was finishing up with a client in Smith Falls, sitting in my empty, kind of like 1,800 square foot store. And I was seeing my last client there, and she was saying, I said, okay, we got some concerns. You're 26% body fat. You're on 8 different medications. You're not pooping every day. You don't sleep 8 hours. And she's like, well, my doctor told me I was perfectly healthy. My blood work comes back normal. And I was just kind of stuck there for a second. But I remember my drive home being like, okay, we're lost. We got to define these clearly for our clients. So it's up to me now to start saying, here's my standards. And that's okay. Remember, your standards don't need to match everybody. You got to match them for you, who you are and who you value. Okay? But for me, the goal is you have to be very clear with your analogies, your language, and your definitions. The best analogies are going to be when you find out what their job is and relate it. Okay? Any questions on that? Any questions from Zoom? Good? Okay. Number 4 is food logs. This is everything. Everything. I tell my clients very clearly, unfortunately, I cannot 100% believe everything that you're telling me unless you fill out your food logs. Okay? So how many of you have had clients saying, I've researched everything and I can't figure it out? So I would say, well, how much time did you spend researching? And they're like, oh, hours, half an hour a day. I'm like, did you ever write down what you ate for every day? Well, no. It's like, wait a second here. And so now you see why my analogy is your body's like a business. You would never do anything without first doing your books. Right? So I always say to people, you can't go into CRA and move commas on your Excel sheet. Okay? I said, so you got to think the same when it comes to your food logs. Even just writing it down, using an app, it doesn't matter. You have to have an idea of what the client is actually eating. And I'm very open with clients. I say, listen, talk right means 2 things. Talk right about the program. Number 2 is talk right means that you email me every day what you're eating so that this way I can actually coach you, personalize it, and make sure that I understand what's going on in your day. Because this is everything. What time does your client wake up? What time does your client go to bed? What do they eat on a bad day? What do they eat on a good day? What do they eat when they travel? What do they eat in a bad mood? What do they eat when they're at birthday parties? What do they eat on Friday night when they don't cook? All of these are massive trends in their week that's guaranteed to be there for 52 weeks of the year. Okay? So many of you probably know if you follow me on social media, I hate Food Prep Sunday. I'm anti-Food Prep Sunday. Why? Because when I got a cottage, and 50% of my clients have a cottage, for 26 weeks of the year, how many people are home on Sundays? If you owned a business, that means you've already set up your business for a 50% loss. It will not work. I only learned that from me experiencing it and going through food logs, being like, away at the cottage, didn't have any food prepped. I would have never known, but what they've told us, I ate healthy. I was really busy. And really stressed. Okay, so what did you eat? Did you eat chips? Okay, you like chips, you like salt? Okay, good. Let me get you the chips that are 350 calories a bag instead of 1,700 calories a bag. Oh, you went for this? Okay, you went for pizza on Friday. You came home late from work on Friday, and you ordered pizza because you were tired. How about we order Swiss Chalet? Now, people will say, oh, these are just little, but think this is going to happen for the rest of their life. So by us going through their bad days, I tell clients, bad days are the best days. Don't give me your good days. I don't need them. I need to make bad days. So if you look at everything from 100%, 10% you didn't come see me for. 10% is yours. I always tell people, if you sat down with your financial planner, 90% of your money, he's going to say, let's map it out. Here's 10, let's say you make 100 grand a year, 90 I'm going to map, here's 10,000, go do whatever you want, don't come back to me for 10,100. Make sense? So I'm very open right from the get-go. You're here to see me for your 90%, not for your 10%. So let's not worry about the seaweed. Can we start stressing about the 90%? Because they want to talk to me about the 10%. What do I do on my daughter's birthday? What do I do on my wedding? We forgot about, hey, listen, can we just focus on the 90%? The 10% I'm not stressed about. Now that 90%, 30% are going to be great, 30% are going to be medium, 30% are going to be, let's face it, we all went through that. I went through that. So I say, my goal is to help you make those 30 bad days, the 30% of those bad days, into 40% better medium days. And then make 40% really good days, 20% bad days. Now this year, that's going to be better. Next year, it's going to be even better. Because we can compound those tools. Okay? But if you don't get a food log, how do you personalize it? How do you make it for them? Right? I always tell people, I don't know what to program for you. I don't know what you're doing. You're gaining weight, and you're telling me you're following the program. So unfortunately, the research shows that you're off by 30 to 40% of your natural caloric intake. That's all I can go off of. And I'm guessing. So my business coach told me, I said, okay, this is my number one stress. So in my contract, I wrote, if you do not send out food logs, I'm not liable to make you a program update. Because it should be malpractice on my part. So I tell them, no updates, no food logs, no upgrades on your protocols, nothing. Because it's unliable it's not safe for you to do that. Especially when someone's on medications. Okay? And I would say, if you can't fill it out for 3 minutes, you might need to see a life coach. Fair? Right? And remember, I'm talking to clients who are coming in to see me who want nutritional help. And when we start to look at definitions, one thing I do define in my office is I'm not a doctor, I'm not a naturopath, I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a mental health coach, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a life coach, and I'm not a mean coach. I'm a holistic nutritionist that wants to help you understand that the 3 to 10 health complaints that come into my office, I can help you with, because in our office, that's what we've done. From changing food, we've either lowered the severity or got rid of that health problem, just from changing around your food. So I'm clearly defining my role. Okay? So by them filling out their food logs, help you define and learn them. You can say to them, listen, this is not, I have to convince them. They think it's punishment. I said, no, this is the best data ever. My wife's an accountant. And I would say, I wish I was like you, because if someone says they're broke, she can be like, yeah, no problem. Print, here you go. Imagine we could do that with our mouths and look at the end of the year. We're like, ooh, right? So things like that we just have to make sure of and just say, it's not punishment, it's data collection. When we have the data, we can start to make customized personal approach for you and figure out what are 1 to 3 changes every couple of weeks that we can help you with. So that way you can progress through this and at the end of the year see great results. But unfortunately, if we don't get to know your day, we might be giving you changes that are not made for you. And that's scary to me because I want to see you succeed. Okay? So food logs is everything. Sorry, she had a question first. Go ahead.
Oh, you answered it.
Okay, perfect. Yes.
I'm just curious, what do you do like paper logs or graph?
So I'm very old school. I tell them the one that I've seen the most success with, I've seen people do Excel sheets, macro apps, all that stuff. There's 2 success tools I use. One is your iPhone. Notepad. Write down what you eat, send.
Cool.
Done.
Yeah.
Write to my email.
Yeah.
I said, put me in your contacts, write down what you eat, don't shared note it. So if you're a person who works with a lot of people, don't shared note it because then you have to open it, it takes a minute. So like me, I have 140 food logs open a day. That's 140 minutes just waiting. I tell people, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be Like I just don't want to wait 20 seconds. So just share it, screenshot it, whatever you do, send it to me. And the second one is Chronometer. So Chronometer is a great app, okay, for professionals. I think I pay $40 US for about 20 clients. And although I will tell you, it's just something I brought in. It's creepy because I feel like I'm creeping on my clients because I'm like looking at what they ate for the day. But those are for my advanced clients. You can log in, and then I think for every additional after 20 clients, it's $2.50 US. Right? And I think it's a really good app, like Farm Boy's in there. I use a lot of weird health food stuff. You scan it, it's all in there. So it's really good. It's probably the one I've seen the most success with. And I think I've got about 40 clients doing it, and they all said, I used to pay for Elaine Norton's Carbon app. Okay, I actually find this free version was just as good. And when you do become a professional with them, as soon as your client signs on and joins, it automatically gets turned into gold. So your client doesn't have to buy the upgrade because you're paying the $2.50, so you can either pass that on to the client, but if not, they'll automatically you'll be upgraded. You just log in, and they can log into your account, and they get gold. Okay? Yes?
Have you heard of the Yucca app?
No. Sorry. What's the Yucca app?
Okay, so basically, not your real food, but you go to the grocery store and you scan any barcode on any box or whatever, and it rates it.
Okay. Oh, okay, so I have heard of this. I just didn't know the name. My client said to me there's this app that rates food.
Yeah.
That kind of gives you good. I haven't read it. I haven't done that stuff. And the other reason why, huh? No.
It's free right now.
But you know the reason why I don't, is that I'm supposed to teach my client that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I want to teach my client, like, hey, how do you buy food? Well, number one, does it come from earth to, you know what I mean? Like there's steps and stuff. But yes, those apps are great because it tracks like everything from like how many ingredients to what's the rating to the caloric serving size. It is good. It's a good tool to use. Especially for like a beginner or someone who's very confused about food, it's actually very good. Okay? Anybody on Zoom have a question about food logs, reports, or anything like that? It's everything to me as a nutritionist, and I'm sure all of you guys do it in strength and conditioning. You write down reps, you write down their time, you write down their tempo, you write down their weight, so you can actually show them progression. Okay? Next one, number one tool I use is homemade food. Right? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, you don't have a question? Okay, homemade food. This sounds crazy. But for the first 30 days, the number one tool is food. Not shakes, not bars, not keto snack, nothing. Food. Unless they travel a lot, then I'll give them a protein bar and shake. But in the first 30 days, I tell them I just want to use food. Because you want to know why I do that? People are so afraid of food. Like people are afraid. They're like, do I eat steak? Do I not eat steak? Do I eat this? Do I eat this? They're so lost that I said, okay, let's forget about everything you've ever learned about nutrition. How about we just go back to basic principles? So let's go back to zone paleo. That works. Okay, good. So let's just go back for the first 30 days. Let's just get you eating real food. Let's give you a template. Let's give you some principles. And let's just see what happens in 30 days. I have not had one client who has started with me, all that as a beginner, that has said, Harry, they didn't come back and lost 2 to 4% body fat and tell me that they felt 20% better in 30 days. I'm still waiting for that one. Just eat real food.
I tell them to walk in the grocery and just do the walls.
Mm-hmm.
Never do the alleys.
Just do the walls. Yeah, 100%. But the problem is with the alleys. I go in the alleys. I like sauces. No, but it's true, right? Like the thing is, we want to tell them 80% of your food should be the perimeter, right? But 20%, there's some good stuff in the middle, right? Like they have honey, they have maple syrup, right? They have, I like hot sauces. I like mustards. I've got 12 different mustards, right? And then people can start to be like, oh, like I shouldn't probably be going there. I shouldn't be in there. But I think the key is that the goal is home food. Nothing beats it. Every single person in here knows that. So they've got to read it to them, like, hey, why don't we just do 30 days? Let's do a challenge. Let's just see what happens if you make all of your food from home for 30 days, and let's see what happens. But that's the number one tool I use in my office. And people come in, they're like, this can't be right. My friend sent me here, this person took. It's just food. Minimum effective dose. I tell that all the time in my office. I want to give you the least amount of changes with the most amount of results because I'm going to go based on the highest return on investment for change. I see many clients doing these big changes this big with this much return. You would never do that in your business. Okay? So homemade food. Remember, food is about nourishment. It's not about calories or convenience. Every time you eat a food, that food is going to have a reaction. Does it make it better or worse? Does it keep you full for 3 to 4 hours? No gas, no bloating, and do you feel like you can kick ass in your day? No, probably not a healthy food for you. It's plain simple. Okay? But meat, fish, eggs, vegetables, fruit, nuts, seeds, rice, potatoes, quinoa, buckwheat, lentils, I'm in love with those things. I think they're great. Now, will each individual that comes into my office have different changes from the get-go? Probably, because I'm going to listen to their gut health and what they're eating already. Okay? But in general, I always tell people real food. No shakes, no bars, no potions. I just want real food for the first 30 days, and all of them are shocked. All of them are shocked. I didn't realize I could lose weight eating food. I thought I had to starve myself and eat 1 meal a day. No, can't do that. Okay? This one's the biggest shocker. I still to this day, I was saying to my wife when I was reviewing my year, I said, I still to this day think that real food quality makes the biggest difference in the game changers as people feel, especially as they get older. Does that make sense? So as you get older, food quality becomes more and more important, right? Because the insults of stress are higher. So the allostatic load of stress on an individual who has kids, mortgage, 2 car payments, a job, not sleeping properly, and then compound that over 10 years is going to be very different than a 22-year-old. Okay? But real food, I would say, always wins. Time. This is where all of my clients, including my hardest client, my wife, all have a weakness towards. Time. You need time. Now in your world, the gym, for some reason I always tell my wife, nutrition, I study universal principles. Okay, so I'm a big fan of universal principles because I always say universal principles that are found everywhere else are not different than nutrition, but for some people think they're different. You walk into a gym and someone says to you, I want to deadlift 400 pounds, and you start at 400 pounds, they'd probably fire you. Fair? Okay, in my office, someone comes, I want to lose 40 pounds, can I lose it tomorrow? Right? It just doesn't work. So time. So I'll give you an example. Someone told me they want to lose 40 pounds. They said, how long is that going to take? I said, 60 weeks. And they're like, well, I need to do that in 4 months. I said, okay, well, let's go through the science. The science will tell us 0.5 to 1 pound per week. Then let's look at your good days, bad days. So if you have 40 good weeks, you're going to lose 1 pound. And they said, you're forgetting about the other 20 weeks when you say to me, I had a bad day, I'm traveling, I hated everybody, I had a big work project, I had a birthday, I had this, I had that. It's like they don't take into consideration all the bad days. So I'm a little bit negative in the beginning. I'm pessimistic. I say, what's this client guaranteed to go through? Bad day, good days, great days, travel, anniversaries. So I already got to add on 1 week for every one of those. Because you and I both know Easter weekend is Sunday, meal off. That turns into Monday, Tuesday, meal off. And then it just compounds. Fair? So the first thing is we start talking about time. And then how much time do you spend with your client? You guys are in a great scenario because you guys get time with your clients. Right? They have a bad weekend, they want to come and see you. They're like, Monday, punish me. Me, can I cancel? Right? Let me get myself back on track. Right? And so, but spending time with them talking about nutrition is important, right? It gives me time to define things, it gives me time to talk to them. And one thing I struggle with, even to this day, I struggle a lot with is how can I keep up with social media when clients come in and only ask me questions about what are my thoughts on diets instead of thoughts on themselves? And that's a personal pet peeve of mine. I say to clients all the time, like, hey, you've asked me 5 questions. Can I just remind you that none of them were pertaining to you? Everything was pertaining to everything else. I said, that's why we're not seeing results. Okay? So, for us, we spend 2 to 3 hours monthly with clients. Okay? We do biofeedbacks every 2 weeks. We get them to food log us every day. So bare minimum, I have 12 conversations a month with them just based on back and forth with the emails to find out how they're going. Right? We communicate timelines clearly to them. Right? So I'm sure after you can tell someone when they walk into your office, you say, okay, I need to lose 20 pounds, blah, blah, blah. You say, okay, well, based on your starting point, based on this, it's going to take us about 12 weeks to get your bench press to be at this level. Because you probably can have an idea after 3 sessions to be like, what's their progression, what's their learning curve, where are things going, that you probably, if you've done it enough, you'll be able to see things. Okay? But the key is to communicate those timelines. And our big thing is we say, everything that we do is a chapter in your book of health. Nothing is forever, but today this is where you need to start. Very clear on that. Just like if you said to someone, hey, I can't give you a barbell. Yeah, but I need a deadlift for it. But listen, let's just touch our toes. It's not forever, but it's the chapter you need to start in. Okay? So those are things that we need to do because the goal is to build real human connection. People will say to me, Harry, you should be online coach. I have zero interest. Please, zero, nothing, and I don't knock it. I think if you can do it, it's great. I have clients in Jordan. I have about 10 clients that I work with online. And it's fun. But man, there's nothing like hugs and high fives. High fives, talking to them, learning their mannerisms. You know, online they can run away from you. Well, in Ottawa I can drive to the house. Right? So it's just different. And you know what? I tell people it's who you are. Who are you? You may be an online, you may be in person, you may be both. I don't care. As long as you get the client results and you're honest and you want to help them, great. Me, I'm an in-person guy. I love it. I've always been that way. It's who I want to be, and I just work towards my strengths. Okay? So whatever it is, try to build connection. If you're an online, figure out how to maybe do more Zooms, or you send them emails. I don't know. All I know is that I find that when I meet people in person, I get to know them. I get to know their family. I get to know how their mannerisms. I get to know what they wear. I get to know where they drink. I just get to know them. They sit and have a coffee in my office, and they don't want to leave sometimes, and I love it because I'm at home. It's scary to come to nutritionists. And they want to come sit and have a coffee for 2 hours, great, let's do it. Okay? So take time with the client and just keep reminding them this is going to take time. So good principles to start with. I say for every decade you've been on the earth, it's a minimum of that month. Monthly. So I'm 4.4 months. Let's start there as a commitment. If not, let's not bother. Let's not bother being why we're not seeing results because it's going to take me time. Like first I got to restore function, then I got to look at your goals, and then I got to figure out what goes on from there. And then I got to figure out to make sure that you retain and maintain it. Okay? The first time when clients come and see me, they're like, oh, how come I'm not losing weight the first month? I'm like, because you came with 16 different disruptions of the body. I had to fix those first. Function before composition. So the way you used to do it was composition without function. I got to fix all the function, then boom, let's go to the promised land. Okay, but that takes time. So just try to reiterate to them. And the more we tell them that from the get-go, the less pressure they put on the program. Okay? Biofeedbacks. So biofeedback is an Excel sheet of the business. I always tell people that's the same thing with the questionnaire and the biofeedback, is that I always tell clients the first thing we have to establish is what is the starting point of your business, because you would never buy a business 80% based on emotion. It would be 80% based on the Excel sheet of the actual business. 20% would be the emotion. Fair? So if we don't have a tracking system from the get-go, we're screwed. Because remember, you got to think, most people think they're not going to see results. Most people are skeptical. By us have a tracking system. So I'll tell you, every question I ask, I can say it in my sleep. What is your energy levels? From 1 to 10. 1 is low, 10 is high. Please tell me from 6 in the morning till 10, 10 till 2, 2 to 6, 6 to 10. Perfect, energy levels. What is your mood like? Irritable, angry, up and down, stable, cranky, anxious, or depressed? 2, 3. What do you crave? Sweet, salt, alcohol, all none or reduced. What is your stress levels? 1 to 10. 1 is low, 10 is high. What is your motivation? High, medium, or low? In general for life. How many hours did you work? How much water do you drink? How much caffeine did you drink? Any fancy drinks? How much alcohol did you drink? And this is all based on 30 days. Do you poop every day? Yes or no? How many bowels are you having? What does the quality look like? Is it consistent or inconsistent? Do you feel empty after pooping after every meal, after every time you poop? Yes or no? Okay, do you have gas, bloating, do you have any gas or bloating? Yes or no? Do you have any indigestion, acid reflux? Yes or no? Do you have any stomach pain, cramps? Yes or no? Okay, what does your appetite look like? Is it up and down, stable, or is it decreasing or increasing? Do you feel hungry? How long until you feel hungry after you eat a meal? 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour? Do you have any pain management issues? Did you take any painkillers? What is your number one pain management issue that we have to deal with this month? Do you have any skin issues? Did you have any symptoms of allergies? Did you have any issues with cognitive function, so brain fog, memory, focus, concentration? Did you get any blood work done? How is your AM wood and how is your libido? Sleep, what time do you go to bed at? Can you fall asleep within less than 30 minutes, yes or no? Do you have any issues falling asleep? No. Do you have any issues staying asleep? Yes, I do wake up 1 to 2 times to go pee. Can you fall back asleep, yes or no? When you wake up, what time do you rise? Do you feel recovered, yes or no? Do you have any muscle cramps? Did you have your cycle? Was it consistent 28 to 31 days, yes or no? What are your top 3 complaints of your cycle? Did you work out? How many times did you work out this week? Okay, I did 3 strength, 3 swimming. Okay, perfect. How was your strength? Consistent, inconsistent, better, or worse? Was your endurance consistent, worse, or better? Recovery, yes or no? Perfect. Anything else I should know about your month? Those are the questions I ask every 2 weeks. Like clockwork. Yes.
So hearing this, it's great.
Yeah.
But some people might feel overwhelmed with all of those questions. Maybe they've never thought about it before. Or
Yeah.
maybe it's like they just never thought about it even for themselves. So if you're doing it that frequently, how do you deal with overwhelmed clients? Oh my God, you're asking me too many questions. I don't know.
Oh, first off, we do it in person. So we do it in a 2-hour initial. And I explain to them this is the Excel sheet of your business. Then I do it by email. So once every 2 weeks, some do, some don't. And then when they come in, I'll do it no matter what when they sit with me. So they get an hour with me. So every month we have to do that. Okay, why is that important? So it's the explanation behind the data collection that's important now. So the reason why that's important is I say, this is what's going to dictate the program that we're going to do this month, because your environment dictates the program that we need to give you. Today you want to be in fat loss, but unfortunately you just told me you're not sleeping properly, you're not pooping every day, you got a big project at work, you got 4 birthday parties, and your dad's sick. So you logically, would you think that that's the best time to be in a calorie deficit? Probably not. Beautiful. So the data dictates the next program instead of the emotion. How many people tell you I've been trying to lose weight for a year? You know, my clients will say to you, BS. I don't say it. My clients say to their friends, there's no way that you've been trying to lose weight for a year and seeing no results. You're just doing something wrong. The program needs to be adjusted to the client. The client is the person in front of you, not your ego. I don't care about results. I care about the client. And the client's current state dictates the next program for the month. Make sense? And the same thing happens in your industry. If I sprain my ankle and I come in and you're like, yeah, we got squat today. That's what's on the program. I don't know anything else. They're going to be like, see you later, buddy. So the adaptability comes from learning the client. And once I see 2, 3 good biofeedbacks in a row, I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? Then I leave it to them. Like, now what do you want to do? Because I got you to a Ferrari. Where do you want to go? So yes, they are going to be overwhelmed. But remember, here's the interesting thing. Why did you sign on with me if I wasn't going to teach you your body? What's my name on my company? Personalized Health Center. Learn you, not me, not theory, not science, not the medical doctor, not anybody, but you. And how are we going to teach you? By finding out questions to dig a little bit deeper. I went through my own soul searching, and I always say that journaling was one of the most depressing things I ever did while I went through it. Because I had to find myself. But when I found myself, it was the most enlightening thing ever, because now I don't care. But when I was going through it, it was awful. And so it's the same thing. So could that be a foundational rule for everything in life? Yes. When you start a new job, one day you love it, next day you hate it, next day you're going to fire you, next day you're getting it, next day you're making a mistake, next day you're getting better. When they come in the gym, they get better, then they get worse. When they get better, they get worse. In hockey, in every single thing in life, that is a fundamental foundational rule, universal. You get better, you get worse, you get better, you get worse. I explained it right then. Okay, great. Okay, tech. I got half an hour. I got lots to go. Okay, tech. So technology that I use for teaching more about the client. The first thing I want to tell you guys about tech is I start with nothing but food logs and a pedometer. That's the first place I start with my clients. I don't start with Oura rings, glucose monitors, or food scale, or macro apps. I only start with food logs and a pedometer. Why? I think pedometers are a great tool just for everyday knowledge. How many steps do you take in a day? No idea. Perfect. Let's find out. Okay? I have clients that say, oh, I'm really active. I do a lot of steps. 4,000. Even me, when I first got my pedometer, 3,800 steps a day is what I was averaging. I wasn't deliberate in my movement. I wasn't deliberate. I'd go to the gym. I'd bring my water bottle with me. Whereas, okay, I said, okay, I'm going to walk more. I'll just get rid of my water bottle at the gym and in between sets, go take a sip of water, come back. Boom, steps went up. Okay? So just a good everyday pedometer. You get ones that are like $10 from Amazon. Or you buy a watch. Okay? But I don't like the ones from the phones because I don't want my clients carrying their phones on them. Okay? But a pedometer will help them learn how they are actually moving in a day. Okay? Then number 2 is the food scale. Food scale is a good tool for helping people learn portions. People are always like, oh, I don't want a food scale. I don't want to be obsessed about my results. But I said, listen, when you go to a restaurant and you go to a friend's house, how are you going to learn portions? So I can tell your hand, I can tell you this, I can tell you. But I said, it's just good for you to practice it for 30 days to measure out your protein and see what it is. If there's one tool I would have brought in earlier, it's actually the food scale. I bring it in earlier. Before I never brought it into about 3 or 4 months. Now it's after 3 to 4 weeks. I say, okay, now I need you measuring your protein. Not one client has said they were eating enough when I give them their portions. And my tool of how I use my portions for the food scale is very simple. Whatever your weight is on your weight scale is the weight I put on protein on the food scale. And if you actually track the macros, it's within 10%. It's actually pretty good. It's a simple little tool. People they're like, how much protein do I need? Your weight to the weight scale. The weight scale to the food scale, it's pretty close, within 10%. Okay? So that's one I do. The ones I really focus on people to measure is meat, fish, nuts. Get your clients to measure their nuts. Okay? Sorry. Okay? All right? So, because it's 1 ounce to 2 ounces is a big difference in caloric value. And once they get into 2 ounces to 3 ounces, I always tell them a meal would have been better than that. Because you'll get more protein, more fiber, more micronutrients than you would if you just ate 1 or 2 ounces of nuts. And the goal is to get the most amount of nutrients per serving every time you eat. Okay? Then I go to Oura Ring. Okay? Especially for my clients over the age of 40 who are females going menopause, I really go into the Oura Ring because all of them don't realize is that alcohol is a hormone. Go figure. And food is a hormone. Go figure. And so I always tell them, let's get an Oura Ring because they wonder why they're not losing and they tell me it's their hormones. And when they actually can learn what alcohol and food quality does to their sleep, it's like a eye-opener. $350, great tool. Okay? And if a person wants to buy a pedometer and they don't want to buy like a watch, sometimes when a client says to me, I want to get a pedometer, I say, just go right to the Oura Ring. It's $350, $400. Okay? Better battery, you can still keep your watch, it does your steps, and we can do it all at once. Does that make sense? So from a money in, money out value, Garmin's like $500 to $300 to $400, whereas an Oura Ring right from the get goes $350 to $400. Okay? So it goes pedometer, food scale, Oura Ring, then I'll go to macro app, depending on those two can be interchanged, depending on where the journey is in with the client. Okay? Then I'll go to continuous glucose monitor only if we have a client with metabolic syndrome and we can't figure out why their blood sugar is not going on. And the other part about some of these tools is I have some clients who are just junkies who want to try everything. So I tell them, hey, let's do 90 days of baseline principle stuff. Then let's try intermittent fasting. Let's try keto. Let's try it all, but we'll work with you before, after, during. We'll do it all so that way we have dialing in, dialing out process. You want to do glucose, no problem. I got tons of clients that just like learning tech and they love it. So I'm like, let's do it. Let's have some fun. But that's what keeps them along for a year to 2 years. Because that's their personality. You have those clients that when they come in, they're fire types. You can give them 2 boring workouts, but you got to give them that one fun thing at the end. If you're doing a structural balance with someone, all you're doing unilateral, they're like, let's trap bar. You're like, this is fun. But then when you say, let's go slam the bar now for 5 minutes, like, and they're like, I'll come back for more. So you have to work on the individual base. But really, I think a pedometer, a food scale, a macro app, again, that could take me 6 months to a year to kind of get a client through their journey, depending on where they are. But tech is good, but I don't think we need as much tech as we need. I actually do all this before I even do blood work with a client. Because I don't need blood work on someone who's 25% plus. I say, we'll do blood work with you at 17% when we get stuck. Then we know, because then if you start at 30% body fat, chances you having problems with your blood work is probably pretty high. So we have a medical doctor on staff, you pay $900, you get everything done. Right? So I say, before we go spend $900, why don't we just get you down to 15% body fat? Then if there's something that pops in at 15% body fat, okay, we got a problem. Because now your body's in a good state. I don't believe in testing at the worst state, I believe in testing on the way up. But some people like testing at the weak state, but then I remember this client, $7,000 worth of paperwork, 0 results. Over 3 or 4 years. I said, did anybody ever just follow you and see what you ate for the past 30 days? No, never. We missed the boat. No, but that's what we're taught, and I always tell people it's the everyday stuff that we focus on if we owned a business. We wouldn't focus on the consultants and the special softwares and this and that. It's human connection, write it down, call it a day. Okay? Diets, all diets work. I use tons of diets. All diets work. My definition of a diet, and that's when people say to you, oh, keto work, vegetarian work, low carb work, because you became conscious of what you put in your mouth. That's what a diet is, in my opinion. You just became, so it doesn't matter what you start with, any diet, you're going to be successful with it because you're starting to be conscious of what you put in your mouth. Okay? All of them work. Every diet has a chapter of where the starting point is with a client. So I gave you that first person who ate Tim Hortons, Pizza, Swiss Chalet. Am I starting them on any of these? How about we just start with Paleo Zone and call it a day? That's my two favorites. Paleo Zone, low carb, I love them. They work. They've always worked. People like them. They get a lot of variety. We can work through different things, and it always gets the results that I need. Okay? And I guess you could probably put in there calorie counting. I should count as a diet. But in the first 30 days to 60 days with me, there's no calorie counting. It's nutrient counting. It's quality control, quality of food counting. It's water counting. It's fiber. It's fruit counting. It's did I eat 3 servings of protein? For every 50 pounds I weigh, did I eat 1 serving of protein for every 50 pounds I weigh? No. Check. So let's start counting quality of food, meal counting. Then we move into the slowly as we go down that strain of what we start to focus on. Okay? Food sensitivity testing. I use a lot of food sensitivity testing. I'm a nutritionist. I focus on food. Pretty fair? And people will say to me, I don't believe in it. I say, okay, perfect. So you're saying you don't, but in 1 minute, 1 sentence, they'll say, I don't believe in food sensitivity testing because there's no research around it. But then they'll tell me, well, that's just the way my body is. Wait a second here. You just told me in one category you can't believe in the next one you do. That doesn't make any sense. So people always say to me, Harry, I don't believe in food sensitivity testing. Here's what you want to understand about food sensitivity testing. Food sensitivity testing is not testing for an allergy, it's testing for a subclinical type symptom. A subclinical type symptom is something that doesn't necessarily show up in blood work. You guys are professionals. CRP and inflammatory markers can be showing up. Okay? But in general, I tell clients, subclinical type symptoms are things that don't show up in your blood work but show up as an everyday health complaint. How many people here have had someone go to their doctor and say, hey, I don't feel well, I have 10 health complaints, get my blood work, you're perfect. Perfect. So that person needs to walk out of that office, call a nutritionist or somebody and say, I need to fix my diet because I need to add something or I need to take something out because something's not working for my body. Right? So what's the oldest diet in the world? Elimination diet. It's one of the oldest diets in the world. So if we look at elimination diet, it's eliminating things that could be causing triggers. Triggers could be the following: digestive, gas, bloating, constipation, too many bowel movements, not enough bowel movements, indigestion, acid reflux, stomach pain, stomach cramps. Fair? How many people in this room, how many people work with people who have something, one of those? Everybody. Okay. Number 2, headaches, migraines, joint pain, waking up to go pee in the middle of the night, stomach pain, stomach cramps, sniffles, phlegm production, waking up to go pee in the middle of the night, water retention, weight fluctuation, not feeling well after you eat. How many people deal with clients who deal with that? Just imagine they could be eating healthy but not eating healthy for them. Me and Priya G over there, both allergic to eggs almost. I ate eggs, used to eat 12 eggs a day, used to play rugby, I used to weigh 215 pounds today too. Today I weighed in at 180.4. Couldn't lose weight, tried everything, finally did a food sensitivity test, took out eggs to lose 10 pounds in 1 month. Call this. Could you imagine I walked out of Clark Flynn's office, slammed the door, and nearly broke the window because I was so mad because I've been eating perfectly for 3 weeks and my body fat went up. So, food sensitivity testing, when people say to me they don't believe in it, I say, that's good, perfect, great, awesome. So I say, if I'm a Converse junkie, I'm about 20 pairs, maybe even more now, okay? And so I always say to people, if I give 10 people Converse, 3 people are going to love them, 3 people say 4 people say my feet bleed. Fair? Okay. If someone tells me gluten hurts their stomach, you just be crazy. But it's a universal principle that everybody's going to have a different response to everything. You guys meeting me here today, there's somebody in here like, this guy's crazy, this guy, I can't stand him. It's fair, right? How many clients have you worked with? We've hit over 100 clients, 5 didn't like you. Nothing personal, just the laws of the odds. 10 will say they love you, 10 will say they loved it, they didn't experience, so it's okay. It doesn't hurt my feelings. But the key is we have to start to look at the individual that's in front of us and what are they telling us? Hey, I eat healthy, okay? Good. Body fat's 20%, great. I don't poop every day, I have tons of gas and bloating, I have indigestion, I have acid reflux, I can't figure out why my weight fluctuates, and I can't sleep properly. Perfect. You look at their food, okay, top most common allergens in the world, wheat, dairy, eggs, tomatoes, shellfish, peanuts, soy, corn. Done, peanuts. Every meal, that's what they eat. Okay, well, food is medicine. Each person has a different reaction. So let's start rotating stuff out. So That's why I'll say, I'll start with the food sensitivity. I don't start 30 to 60 days in, I will. Okay? Because it's too much. I used to do them in the first appointment. Now I don't because it's too overwhelming and I'd rather get them eating healthier. Right? Counting portions of protein, vegetables, and fruit and water per day versus taking out and rotating out food. Okay? The two foods I always start with, though, when it comes to rotating out is gluten and dairy, and it's very simple. There's 4 reasons why. 1, what are the 2 foods that everybody's eaten since they were probably 0? Gluten and dairy. What are the 2 foods, if you see a food log, that people eat every day? Gluten and dairy. If you Google health complaints in food, what are the 3 foods that pop up all the time? Gluten and dairy. Okay, perfect. So we rotate them out. I don't need a PhD in science or nutrition to be like, hey, based on what you've told me, it's there. If someone says to me, where's the research? I just looked at your food logs. Well, there's nothing on PubMed. Okay, well, the problem is you're not on PubMed. You're not worth $1 billion drug. Sorry. Fair? Okay, so helping the client really understand their body is important. And remember, number 4 is this: variety is more important. So if someone's eating gluten and dairy every meal, what are the chances of them getting a lot of variety in their diet? How many people don't eat fruit? Everybody. I see so many people don't eat fruit. Some people don't eat potatoes. They don't eat quinoa. They don't buckwheat. I'm like, you're telling me that you don't feel well, but you're not even eating 35 to 50% of the food that's available. We live in Canada, so we have variety. Let's enjoy it. Okay? Food sensitivity is not where I start with, and I tell people that on the phone. If you think that this is going to cure the problem, it's not. But if you work with us over 30, 60, 90 days, it might be a tool that we use, a part of the success towards your journey of your goal. Fair? Okay. So those are the tools I use.